high in the mountains of northern Luzon, where the clouds kiss the peaks, and rice terraces cling to the cliffs like ancient stairways to the sky. A people lived beyond the reach of empire. While much of the Philippines fell under Spanish colonial rule, these highlands remained different. The land was harsh, the paths were dangerous, and the spirits of the mountains stood with those who called it home. Here in the Cordilleras, the Igorot tribes guarded their land, their gold, and their way of life, against one of the most powerful empires in the world. This is their story, the untold stories of the Igorot tribe, during Spanish colonial rule. When the Spaniards arrived in the 1500s, they brought with them the cross, the sword, and a promise of kings and kingdoms. In the lowlands, many communities were eventually converted, taxed, and placed under colonial rule. But the Cordillera region was different. The mountains were steep, the forests thick, and in those heights lived a people who refused to bow. These were the Igorot tribes, a collective term often used for several ethno-linguistic groups, like the Ifugao, Kankanaey, Bontoc, Ibaloy, Kalinga, and others in the highlands. To the Spanish colonizers, they were infieles and salvajes, unconverted and unconquered. To themselves, they were simply guardians of their land and their ancestors. The Spaniards had one major reason for repeatedly trying to enter the Cordillera: gold. Stories reached Manila that the highlanders possessed rich gold deposits in their rivers and mountains. For a colonial empire hungry for wealth, this was enough reason to risk everything. Spanish expeditions marched into the highlands, hoping to control the gold, impose taxes, and build new towns under the crown. But what they found was fierce resistance. Many of these expeditions returned with heavy losses. Men killed in ambushes, sick from the cold, or simply lost in the unforgiving landscape. For centuries, Spain tried to fully control the Cordillera. For centuries, they failed. To protect their land and people, Igorot warriors stood ready, armed with spears, shields, and an intimate knowledge of their terrain. They used guerrilla tactics long before that word was ever used. They attacked from the shadows of the trees, from the high rocks above narrow trails, and disappeared into the forest, before the enemy even understood what had happened. But beyond the battles, their courage was deeply rooted in something older and more powerful: their connection to their ancestors. Every fight was not only for survival, it was for the spirits of their elders, for their sacred grounds, and for a way of life they refused to trade for foreign rule. While many in the lowlands were baptized, given Spanish surnames, and pulled into the colonial system, the Igorot tribes remained largely outside that control. This came at a price. The Spanish labeled them as pagans and uncivilized, using these words to justify military campaigns and attempts to reduce them, to bring them down into lowland settlements. But in their villages, far from the plazas and stone churches, Igorot communities kept their traditions alive. They continued to perform rituals for the harvest, to honor the spirits, and to celebrate life with dances and gongs. Their social structure remained based on kinship, on elders' wisdom, and on the shared responsibility to protect their community. Even as the Spanish Empire expanded its reach, the heartbeat of the Cordillera remained distinctly its own. They were not passive victims of empire. They were active resistors. Spain's rule in the Philippines lasted more than 300 years. But in all that time, the Spanish never fully subdued the Cordillera. Because of this, many Igorot traditions, rituals, and social structures survived more intact than in many colonized areas. Today, the descendants of those warrior ancestors still live in the same mountains, still tend rice terraces carved into cliffs, and still honor customs passed down for generations. The story of the Igorot people, during the Spanish colonial era, is not just one of suffering or struggle. It is a story of resilience, of a people who knew who they were, and refused to let an empire define them.